Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a mother and father on holidays from Victoria have lost their lives in a horrific crash on the Bass Highway. Their 3 children survived, but tonight are all in hospital.
A family holiday ending in the worst possible way.
So at around 11:30 this morning, there was a 2-car collision on the Bass Highway near Exton.
A man and woman travelling from interstate dying in a 2-vehicle crash. Their 3 children in the back seat at the time. 2 will spend the night in the LGH, the other airlifted to Hobart in the Westpac rescue chopper.
They've all sustained injuries of varying nature. At this stage, fortunately, it appears probably not life-threatening.
In the other vehicle, a man, woman and 4-month-old baby.
The male driver has sustained some injuries, back injuries of some sort, and he's also been taken to hospital at the Royal.
Traffic was diverted onto the Old Bass Highway with the road closed until late this afternoon. Police carrying out investigations into the horrific incident.
It's not dual carriageway where it occurred, it's a single lane each way. So the Territory appears to have veered onto the incorrect side of the road and collided head-on with the Mitsubishi.
It follows another fatal crash in the north yesterday. 3 deaths in 2 days. This year's road toll climbing to 18. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
More than 20 Tasmanian businesses have been left scrambling after they were listed as potential exposure sites. The precautionary measures come after a healthcare worker in the UK tested positive for COVID-19 2 days after leaving Tasmania.
Closed due to unforeseen circumstances, this was the reality faced by dozens of businesses around the state this morning, listed as precautionary exposure sites after a man tested positive for COVID in the UK 2 days after leaving the state.
It's a really stressful situation, obviously, but I guess our main focus is keeping our staff and our community safe.
Earthy Eats, just one of the 23 businesses visited by the case and their travel companion between June 23 and July 2. The majority of the exposure sites are based in Launceston, including the airport, Coles on Charles Street, Officeworks, 911 Bottle Shop and a number of cafes and coffee shops. Several locations also identified in the state's southwest and the Huon, the pair staying at Pedder Wilderness Lodge and Birch Lane Bed and Breakfast.
Closing for a Saturday and possibly a Sunday to get tested is a small impost compared to what a business in New South Wales is doing at the moment, where they're now into their 3rd week of a lockdown.
Those who visited rushing to get tested and isolate.
As of 2 p.m, almost 800 Tasmanians had received a COVID test. For those working at the Pedder Wilderness Lodge in Strathgordon, the nearest testing site is here in Hobart, more than 2 hours away.
That this does create quite a serious imposition on people who are remote. It's quite likely that there'll be an arrangement for them to come to Hobart.
Public Health emphasising the measures are purely precautionary, saying the man likely acquired the virus while travelling to the UK.
It's not, at this stage, and I hope never, a response to this man or other people necessarily being infectious in the Tasmanian community. It's really doing surveillance, so we're covering all bases.
The Small Business Minister will contact those affected on Monday, while employees self-isolating could have access to pandemic assistance grants of up to $250. As for those who have been forced to close for the weekend,
The hope is that we'll receive a negative test for everyone tomorrow and we'll be back into business on Mondays.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
A 41-year-old man has appeared in an out-of-hours court following a siege in Port Sorell earlier this week. The man is facing assault, property destruction and family violence charges. He's accused of arming himself with a knife and keeping police at bay for 12 hours on Thursday, forcing a dozen homes to be evacuated. He's been remanded in custody and will reappear in court at a later date. Prisoners at the Launceston Remand Centre are being blocked from legal help due to understaffing at the prison. Advocates are calling for urgent action, saying frequent lockdowns are depriving their clients of basic rights.
Tasmania's prison system's under fire once more. Last week, the Launceston Magistrates Court heard that a lawyer was unable to speak to 2 clients in the remand centre due to the lack of a working phone. while understaffing also meant an in-person meeting couldn't be facilitated.
This is outrageous. The deprivation of liberty is intolerable. It's the sort of thing that happens in developing world countries. It's not the sort of thing that ought to be happening in Tasmania.
A government spokesperson said there are currently 2 phones in the remand centre. Acknowledging staffing difficulties, they said in a statement, the department is currently recruiting additional staff for the Launceston Reception Prison, including an EOI issued for people to relocate from the south to the north, which went to staff last week. A recent custodial inspector's report found staffing shortages were the cause of 1/3 of all lockdowns in Tasmanian prisons. The head of the prisoners' legal service says lawyers at his organisation frequently have visits and phone calls to prisons cancelled, often due to lockdowns.
It means cases are dragged out longer. It also means people spend more time in custody than they should do.
If there are any such cases, they should be brought to the notice of the Tasmanian Prison Service so that they can be addressed. Obviously, people accused of serious crimes should still be able to access their lawyers.
In the eyes of some, the current remand centre is beyond repair.
If you're going to have a remand facility in the north of the state, it ought to be integrated into the northern centre that's going to be built. And it ought to be humane, it ought to be focused on rehabilitation and services for people.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmanian News.
The family of critically injured footballer Ryan Wiggins has expressed its gratitude for a deluge of donations as the former Lauderdale player undergoes intensive care in Melbourne. Gate takings from matches across the state are going to the popular player, who could be paralysed for life from a devastating spinal injury.
A Lauderdale supporter boundary side at a Clarence home game would normally feel an air of hostility beside its fiercest foe. Today, though, was about more than football, as one of the league's most loved goes through a heartbreaking ordeal.
The past week has been, a time in our life which we just love to erase, but we can't.
Ryan Wiggins' life changed forever last weekend. An accident critically injured his spine, potentially robbing him of his mobility. Ryan's uncle, Mick Francis, could only find one word befitting of Tasmania's response.
I can't go away from overwhelming, it is.
Fundraising efforts have now topped a staggering $160,000. Add in gate takings across the TSL, plus those from regional leagues, and that figure goes even higher.
The ongoing costs, the medical costs, the stays in Melbourne and things like that, it's pretty extreme, to be honest with you. So the GoFundMe page, we can't thank people enough.
Next weekend, Lauderdale will host its own day for Ryan at its home ground. Donations from AFL clubs and businesses for auction have poured in a breathtaking show of support.
They'll be playing for Ryan, who is a strong but gentle young man, but always gave his best on the football field. Very fierce competitor.
Now he's in the fight of his life. Regardless of on-field rivalry, everyone now is on Ryan's team.
It'll be a pretty fierce couple of hours this afternoon, and then they'll get their arms around each other, and he meant so much to so many people.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
Horse racing and training facilities around Tasmania are sharing in $3 million for funding upgrades. The Brighton Training Centre will have a new greyhound lure installed, while drainage facilities will be improved to ensure the track is usable through winter.
To know that the drainage is going to be improved, the track surfaces are going to be improved, which is great not only for the animals but also for the safety of the riders. So, going forward is just sensational for us.
Brighton Training Centre is the main training track now for harness in southern Tasmania. So, we can't really afford to have days of people not being able to use tracks.
Female jockey rooms are being installed at Devonport, while improved drainage is also being erected at Longford Racecourse.
It was milestone day for 400-game North Melbourne champion Brent Harvey, who ran out alongside his son for his local footy debut. Playing for North Heidelberg, 43-year-old Harvey was side-by-side with 16-year-old son Cooper in today's Northern Football League clash in Victoria. Harvey Jr. even managed a goal as the Bulldogs enjoyed a win. 6 goals to Colin Garland has handed Clarence bragging rights on the Eastern Shore. The Roos ripped apart Lauderdale after the first term for a 49-point win. The Tigers continue their march towards September, nullifying North Hobart by 40. And in what could be a grand final preview, Launceston demolished the Northern Bombers, but the Blues are sweating on goal sneak Dylan Riley. Talk had been of a 100-goal season for Dylan Riley, but his main focus changed drastically in the opening term. Injured in a high tackle by Brad Cox-Goodger, no malice, but the impact was immediate. He was on crutches by the end of the game, a suspected ACL. Fireworks were promised, they exploded within reach of spectators and off the boot of Jake Hines.
Kick from Hines to the goal square. Is that a goal? It is!
With no Riley, Braden Pitcher stepped into the role of chief enforcer.
I think that snuck inside the goalpost. Yes, it has.
6 goals for the day, enough to match North Launceston off his own boot. But North Launceston debutant Judah Edmonds managed to split the middle. The Blues as well had a debutant to celebrate, Liam Canny, with a slick pick-up and goal. It helped the Blues to a 16-point lead at the main break. Launceston credits its fitness program for this season's dominance. Today was no exception. The Blues piling on the goals in the second half. North Launceston left to rue its chance to give the premiership favourite a scare. The Demons crunched the Tigers early on, but Kingborough's super season rolled on regardless. Will Campbell booted 2 as the Tigers kept a comfortable lead throughout the match. One less to worry about as the Tigers eye their second final series in State League football. Players wore blue armbands for Ryan Wiggins, his favourite colour, in a mark of respect. Some took a knee, but the early signs were with the sentimental favourite. Visiting fans eagerly observed as the Southern Bombers nailed another, but Clarence's machine, led by Colin Garland, had too much in the tank for the Bombers, the final margin stretching out to 49 points. And in the NAB League, the Tassie Devils have won by 7 points over the Murray Bushrangers, 81-74. Turning to soccer now, Devonport has beaten Taroona 4-2 in the Women's Super League, while a successful counter-attack from South Hobart against Riverside Olympic opened the scoring at Windsor Park in the NPL. South ran out 4-0 winners. And the Devonport Strikers have thumped Glenorchy in the top of the table clash, the Strikers winning 4-0, putting them another game clear at the top. And the Hobart Chargers men's team has won 3 in a row in the NBL 1, dispatching Nunawading by 22 points. A potent Tasmanian attack saw NBL recruits Jack Purchase and Tad Duffelmeyer score more than 20 points, along with Cohen Sapwell.
Feed. Oh, outside, Sapwell has all the time in the world.
The Chargers are third on the ladder and face Albury-Wodonga tonight. A tougher night for the women's side, going down to Nunawading 88-70. Despite Ellie Collins putting in a good showing, sinking 21 for the visitors, the side has sunk to the bottom of the ladder. All 4 NBL 1 teams in action tonight. Interstate Louise will catch up on those results tomorrow.
Look forward to it. Thanks for that, Tom.
Good evening. 14 in Devonport today, 13 across Launceston and Burnie, and Hobart 12. 15 was the state's top at St Helens and Smithton, Strawn 14 and 11 across Grove and Bushy Park. On the close-up shows some afternoon low cloud over northeastern Tasmania. Further out, cloud bands rotate about low pressure systems south of WA and east of New South Wales. Tomorrow shows a high pressure system over the eastern parts of Australia, including Tasmania, while a low pressure system approaches the WA west coast. Northeast to northwesterly winds 5 to 15 knots tomorrow, with swells up to 1.5 metres in the west and south and below 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for western coastal waters from Low Rocky Point to Sandy Cape, and a road weather alert is current for icy roads during the morning. Tomorrow's forecast now: Hobart and Richmond, mostly sunny 11 at Ouse. In the north, 13 across Launceston and Devonport, Deloraine, a shower or 2. Burnie tomorrow, 13, partly cloudy about Strawn and Curry. Swansea, 14 and mostly sunny across St Helens and Whitemark. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast Monday, showers about the north extending to the western and central areas during the afternoon. Tuesday, fresh north to northwesterly winds with showers about the northwest and central areas. And Wednesday, statewide showers with north to northwesterly winds. Capital cities, mostly sunny in Perth tomorrow. Adelaide, partly cloudy and 34 in Darwin. And currently it's 6 and clear right across the state, Louise.
Thank you for that, Jackie. And that's all your news for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a lovely and safe evening. Good night.